Good evening. Now, the BBC has compiled a list of 100 of the world's most inspiring women. That's a tough thing to do, given that there are millions upon millions upon millions of remarkable women on the planet. Start with anyone that's given birth and raised offspring. Anyone that has started a business, won a gold medal, created great art, run government departments, or even a country. What about the two sensational women outputting tonight's show? That's right, Helena and Faye. It's odd, therefore, with this surplus of candidates available, that the BBC could only find 99 women for this honour, instead awarding the 100th place to a transgender Colombian scientist. Now, this is someone born a man, a biological male by any description, someone that is a bloke that identifies as a woman. Now, the Telegraph report that Brigitte Baptiste is a scientist who explores the common patterns between biodiversity and gender identity. Apparently, she uses, and I quote, a queer lens to analyse landscapes and species in a bid to expand the notion of nature to better protect ecosystems. In a 2018 TED Talk, which demonstrates just how far down the woke rabbit hole science has descended, Baptiste spoke about, wait for it, transsexual palm trees. And she said that there's nothing more queer than nature. Make it make sense. So, in a list of 100 of the most inspiring women in the world, one actual woman misses out. And that's progress, is it? I'd love to know which accomplished female scientist, architect or entrepreneur had to sit on the bench so that yet another man can enjoy the spotlight. Now, this is the same BBC that named Barbara Banda as its Women's Footballer of the Year for 2024, even though she was withdrawn from the Women's African Cup of Nations for failing to demonstrate that she's a woman. As the chief sports writer of The Telegraph, Oliver Brown, points out, it has reached the stage now where women are perfectly entitled to feel that they're being trolled. And the heroic Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who has risked her career, her reputation and her safety to stand up to this madness, said after the Barbara Banda football row, presumably the BBC decided this was more time efficient than going from door to door to spit directly in women's faces. Now, the travesty of this top 100 list is that it's men dominating women all over again. It is patriarchy in makeup. It is sexism in a dress. It is misogyny in heels. But the BBC are not the only ones peddling this stuff, because the brilliant journalist and GB News star signing Lucy Johnston, who's going to be exposing some massive stories for the channel in the years ahead, can exclusively reveal tonight that a leading human rights lawyer is threatening to sue the ultra-woke Football Association over its demand that players wear rainbow armbands and laces, which are both items that perpetuate this deranged and divisive ideology. Now, this fearless lawyer, Paul Conraith, argues that making players wear a rainbow armband breaches rules on political impartiality and clothing. He also argues that the Rainbow Laces campaign, as well as armbands, implies that gender ideology is now an orthodoxy and that it's fact and should be accepted and influencing policy and lawmaking. Now, let's be clear, the rainbow flag is not orthodox, it is not fact, and it is highly political, given that plenty of women consider gender ideology to be sexist, as it erodes their fundamental rights, not to mention their safety. And many gay people feel that this ideology is homophobic, as it encourages the transitioning of camp boys who would likely have turned out to be gay. And this is an ideology that tells lesbians that they are a bigot if they don't accept someone with a penis who calls himself a woman. And in fact, this lawyer, Conraith, is representing the lesbian football fan, Lindsay Smith. Now, Lindsay Smith is a big supporter of Newcastle United, but she was banned from all Newcastle United games, her beloved team, for holding gender-critical views. Now, what are gender-critical views? Well, it basically is the belief that transgender women are not women. Well, wait a minute. That's not gender critical. That is gender factual, because transgender women are not women. But saying that will get you cancelled. It got Lindsay cancelled from her favourite football club. And let me give you some context. This poor woman has survived sexual abuse. And she said, if I see you as a male, I see you as a male. The LGBTQ plus movement erodes safeguards and all boundaries like bathrooms and other female-only spaces. And I'll take no moral lectures from your average Premier League footballer that wears the armbands. These are men who may be married, but who all too often head off to their local Holiday Inn Express with a female fan after the final whistle. Arbiters of moral rectitude, they are not. So, fair play to the lawyer for calling out these double standards from the FA. Fair play to Ipswich Town captain Sam Morsey, who refused to wear a rainbow armband due to his religious beliefs. And fair play to the truly heroic Mark Gahey of Crystal Palace, who wrote, "I love Jesus" over the rainbow armband that he's forced to wear. Hilariously, Gahey was formally reprimanded by the FA for doing this, but he did it again on Tuesday. If they ban this devout Christian over Christmas, the irony will be a delicious thing to behold. This madness has got to stop. It's time to show this whole rotten idea the red card. Why? Because it's balls. So the BBC can't find 100 actual women for its best 100 women in the world. And the FA make people wear these rainbow armbands. Your reaction, gbnews.com/your say. First up, tonight's top pundits. We have the founder of the consumer finance website moneymagpie.com, Jasmine Birtles, farmer and former Conservative MP Neil Parish, and the ex-executive editor of the News of the World, the one and only Neil Wallace. Neil, where do we start with this story?
Do you know what? I've been thinking about this a lot. And this actually seriously drives me nuts. It has really enraged me, this story. I think you may have shown the picture of the new woman who has been allowed to join this list.
Brigitte?
Yes, Brigitte. You should put it up again.
We might be able to. We'll see if we can dig it out.
Really offends me. And I know that all those people watching now, watching this programme, the tens of thousands of people, they are appalled by this. I don't have the slightest doubt. I'm so insulted for people who pay the BBC licence fee. Some people sat in a room somewhere, paid by you and me and everybody out there who is paying the BBC licence fee, right? They paid for this idiot, this group of fools, to come up with this appalling, insulting list. You know what? My good lady deserves a place on that list rather than him. This lady here deserves a place on that list rather than him. The two lovely ladies who are directing this programme, the women who are running through here sorting this out, they deserve a place on that list, not this person. This is outrageous, ludicrous, but the biggest insult is we're all having to pay for it. I don't agree with defunding the BBC generally, but I have to say, this is just so outrageous and gratuitous, just like the football,
which in a sense we're also paying for because fans buy tickets.
Absolutely. It's just such an insult to ordinary people, because you know what? We know about this. Ordinary people don't believe any of this coppers. No. It's nuts and it's an insult.
It is.
Jasmine, your reaction?
Well, yeah, as a woman, I think, yet again, we are, as you say, we're being trolled, we're being pushed out. And 100, as you say, is not a big number when you look at the millions of women just in the UK alone who could be on that list. And it's happening very much in sport. It's happening in just life generally, where these men who want to identify as women literally are, physically pushing women out. I mean, I'm thinking about the Olympics, where that horrible moment when the boxing, exactly, everybody knows that.
And the Italian female boxer said she'd never been punched so hard in her life.
Yes, exactly. And, Sharon Davis has done a lot of work on this. She's saying women's sports for women, and that's where you should leave it. So that's particularly irritating. When it comes to the FA thing, it's interesting that you mentioned the player who had I Love Jesus on his, because I was just thinking, there's been a lot of controversy over people having a cross, people having a religious symbol. Oh, you're not allowed that. And there are lots of...
Don't mention Jesus.
Don't mention Jesus, but you are forced, literally forced, to wear an armband that you do or don't believe in. I mean, even if you do believe in it, what's that got to do with the FA?
It should be personal choice. It's like wearing a poppy. If you want to remember the war dead, you wear one. But if you're forced to, it's got no meaning. Neil, what about the counter to this, which is that you've got people who have, a strong feeling, a strong sense that they're in the wrong body, and they transition and they become who they are, and that could be a man becoming a woman. Isn't it important to have empathy for these folk?
You can have empathy towards them, but why should they be?
And why not?
Why should they be chosen as a woman? And don't forget.
Should they be excluded then?
Yeah, but don't forget the BBC did this on purpose. I mean, they actually made sure that there was a transgender woman in there, or man, or whatever he or she is, and that was done it's all part of the agenda of the BBC. And there are so many great women out there that it would be no trouble at all for them to find 100, but they obviously excluded one woman and put in the transgender woman in order to... The political correctness goes on, the wokeism goes on. It's all part of the same thing. I agree with my namesake Neil here very much that it is insulting, and also we are paying for it.